Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance Happy Hour. I am Becky, and joining me tonight is Heather. Hey Heather.
Hello.
And then our guest author this evening is one of our community favorites, author Danica Flynn. Hi Danica.
Hi.
Okay, so let's just all get it out from the beginning. I will get the characters right tonight because their
Okay.
names are very similar
I
and they
mean, it
work.
was several years ago. So it's fine.
This one time I interviewed Danica for a whole hour and called the character the wrong name for a whole hour. It's okay. It's
Fine.
okay. Tonight, like I said, tonight we are celebrating the release of Risky Play. This is book 7 in the Philadelphia Bulldog series, and it's the final book in the series. Why are you breaking our heart?
Really? I just need to be done.
That's okay because, and we'll get to it as we go here this evening. Um, I'm hoping we're going back to a very small town that I love
Yeah.
and have some friends in that we haven't seen in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so tonight, like I said, we're celebrating the release of Risky Play. It is book 7 in the Bulldog series. You can ask all the questions in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. If you are watching this on the replay, please leave a comment and we will come back and answer those also. In the description of the video are the links to all the places to connect with Danica. And if you aren't part of her Facebook group, she is giving away a signed copy over in her Facebook group, so make sure you go join that for a chance to win a signed copy of Risky Play. Also, I mean,
Mhm.
look at
The
this
back
man.
cover.
I
Ooh.
mean, hello. It's very
That was
nice.
actually not the original photo I wanted to use.
It wasn't?
No. But I picked kind of I didn't pick anything for a specific reason. I was just like, Manchester, this looks fine. And then I gave it to my designer, and she's like, this one doesn't really work with the print version because it didn't have enough of the head. Like it was fully cut off. Because most of the photos I do give her, she usually will cut it off. So she was like, she suggested that one, and I didn't want that color either. I wanted it to be blue to match the first book to bookend the Kennedys. And she
Oh.
gave me the red, and I loved the red. So I was like,
I love
I'm
the
like,
red, and they look so
yeah.
nice on my shelf. I love them.
Yeah, so it wasn't what I wanted, but I ended up really liking it. So it worked out.
The teal is my favorite color, though, because he's my baddie in this whole series. Anyway, so make sure you subscribe, find, and join Danica. Danica, are you drinking anything special this evening?
I'm not drinking
I
anything.
even have beer in the fridge and I didn't grab it. What is wrong with me?
You're not drinking
Okay,
beer?
so I haven't really been drinking because of health stuff. So I kind of stopped drinking for a while, and I drank a beer the other night, and I had 2 sips, and I was like, I already feel drunk. And then the other night, it was nicer the other week, so we tested out the grill that we got for free on Facebook Marketplace, so we weren't sure it was gonna work. And I was like, wait, how long has this beer been in the fridge? I don't want to drink this. And my partner was like, it's fine. And I was like, this has been in the fridge since we bought the house a year ago. And he's like, it's fine. And I was like, I'm not drinking this. So I don't really have beer.
Are you randomly meeting people in parking lots on Facebook Marketplace to get barbecues?
No, so he went with his coworker to get this couch, and then the lady was like, "Oh, by the way, do you want this grill? I'll give it to you for free." So he went back the next day, but he also had to take it apart to get it in his car. It's my life is ridiculous.
I love that about your life, though. So,
That's amazing because
I was
grills are amazing.
it works. It's perfectly fine. I mean, it was really dirty, but his dad was when his dad was here, he cleaned it, so we used it and it seemed fine. So,
nice.
so
Not,
all I have is water.
that's okay.
My ridiculous.
Water works. I have water in my ridiculous Bucky's St. Patrick's Day tumbler my sister got me. Isn't that great?
Very awesome.
Shenanigans. Um, Heather, what are you drinking?
I have vitamin water. I'm really excited.
It's
I'm
Friday
looking
night. You
forward.
still have one more day of work this week.
It's
Or
not Friday.
Thursday
It's
night.
Friday
That's what I
Eve.
mean.
Thursday.
Friday Eve. Oh my God. Do I even know what
Friday.
night it is? Hey, we'll be back right here Friday night, tomorrow
Oh,
night
that's right.
with the Chaos Twins. Um, anyway, so Danica, like we said, Risky Play is new and it's out today wherever you buy books. Um, Tell us a little bit about this series as a whole, because like I said, this is book 7, and
Mhm.
it was actually book 1 is where we bonded and became friends.
I know.
And I feel like, I mean, since 2020, this has been like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's also like my 10th book. So it's like a huge milestone too. Like,
Mhm.
congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
exciting.
It's weird, but it's like yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like it's just like I feel like some people will just write a series forever, and I kind of wanted an endpoint. Like I have author friends where they're like, I think I don't have another book to go in this series, and I don't know which character to do. And I'm like, I want to have like a complete end to things. Like I don't want it to drag on. Um, there was supposed to be another book, but I shelved it, and I don't think I'll go back to it. And there could have been potential for others, but it's just where I wanted to end it, and the way I ended it, I think, was a good way. If you've read the epilogue, if you've read the book already, if you read the epilogue, it makes sense. I'm trying not to give things away, but yeah, it's been a lot. I wrote a whole nother series in between writing this, so like as well. So I have two like full complete series out now. So like that's a lot of people don't get past the first book, and even just publishing the first book is hard. So the fact I'm still did it, I wanted to at least finish two. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lot. I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot from it as well. Yeah, this one is like it's more like new adult than any of the other ones are because they are younger. Um, when I wrote her brother's book, he was 22, but the heroine was like 30. So though he was younger, he was probably like the youngest I had written before. But that was like an intentional reason for doing that. So like them were like a little bit younger, which does make sense when you think of hockey, because a lot of times they are really young. Like they're getting drafted in the league at like 18, and like they're a lot of the European guys have been like on their own since they were like 15, 14, because they've been playing in like major junior leagues, other leagues in Europe and that sort of thing. So it made more sense to like write it that way. And it was just kind of fun to write like a little bit of a college story, which I hadn't really done before. So it was something different. And Becky kept reminding me about how spicy this book is, and I was like, no, it's not. And then I was like, oh yeah, it is.
I can't,
I said that.
as I was reading this, because I've had the pleasure of beta reading these books as they've come out. And it's been so awesome to like start with you in this journey and then watch as these books and everybody gets younger and younger. And actually, as I read this book, I don't think I texted you. I think I looked at Mike and I said, oh my God, we could be these children's parents in this book. Like, we are this old now. I could have parented them all. But like, I do think I messaged you and I'm like, whoa, wow, where'd all this spice come from?
It like popped, I think, at on page 18.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, throughout the beginning.
5
5%.
Yeah,
5%, Danica.
but then there's like reasons for why it doesn't happen for a while.
Yeah,
After that.
but don't be like, oh, it's a slow burn. This book is not slow.
It wasn't slow. I
It's
wouldn't say
like
it was
fire
slow.
and spice.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought book 2 in your small town series was like your spiciest of books.
See, I thought the third book in that one was.
No, because the sister she's like,
I guess.
they like fuck a lot
See, and
in
that's
that
why
book.
I've tried to like let people know, like, read the small town series. Like, just because it's small town, it's not It's not unlike my other books.
It is not. There's so much. But actually, Maddie and Matt, they couldn't stop banging.
He was
Well,
the
I mean,
aggressor too. He
once
was
she
like,
got it out
listen.
there, she was ready to go. Like, you know.
Well, and I think that my little catchphrase on this one was like femme fatale meets golden retriever, because he's a good boy. He is such a good boy.
He is, and he like wants like so hard to do the right thing, and she's like, "Oh, why can't he just be like an asshole?" Like,
Can't you just be naughty?
Can't. He can't. The amount of cuddling, so they bang all the time, which I'm here for. But they also cuddle all the time. You look up golden retriever in a romance dictionary, and there's Matt.
Yeah,
100%.
100%. And he wasn't, I worried a little bit because I think in the previous book, he comes off a little bit like a bro, like a little bit of a frat boy bro.
I don't think he's really in too much of
Well,
the
because
other
there's
ones,
some
though.
like locker room scenes that he's in a little bit.
Yeah,
So it comes
yeah, I
off as
think
one of kind of the bros because he's always like, he's trying to get the guy that's the single dad to, and I didn't have to remember that name this time, guys. So we're not going to go there. He's a redhead, though. I do know that.
yeah, Logan.
He
Yeah.
was always like, come on, let's go out. Let's go out. So, I mean, he comes off a little bit as a bro. But in this book, he was such a good boy with a dirty, dirty mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
He's like the perfect book boyfriend. Maddie was absolutely correct.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
she was. So talk about so you started with an age gap where she was older and it was kind of a second chance at love romance in book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Book 2, it was fake relationship, Vegas wedding, right?
Not fake, but fake marriage, kind of like a trial marriage. My original title was trial marriage until I was like, I want to make them all sound like sports. But that was like childhood best friends to lovers,
Mm-hmm.
and Vegas wedding. She wants a divorce. He wants to like try at the marriage type of thing.
Third book is teammates, best friends, sister, and
enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers. Everyone is an enemy with rock.
Honestly, when I wrote it before I started marketing it, I was referring to it as hate to love. But like a lot of people don't use that. They say enemies to lovers. And I'm like, it's really hate to love. Like she straight up hated him.
She did hate him. Like hated the amount of anger banging in that book. I don't know that I've ever seen as much anger banging as was in the third book.
Mm-hmm.
And Roxy's a badass, and she is, I have to say, I think my journey towards hard to love heroines started with Roxy, because the more we get into this series, the more like she grows on you. Like you're like, oh, she really is.
I think you see a lot of her softer side in her brother's book, because she like is like on his side all the time. Like, and is like protective of him, and like, yeah, they're very codependent. So.
It's fine. Benny seems to be okay with it.
And then Max are just like,
but whatever.
Okay.
So then, in book 4, that's instant connection. When you say co-workers, close proximity.
That one was like really hard for me to quantify, like, because, and sometimes that's hard. Like, I don't usually, a lot of times I don't plan, like, I want to write this trope, and now I have to figure out the characters that fit into this particular trope. Like, some people like write to market, they're like, okay, I need to write this trope. A lot of times I like know the characters and I like know what their deal is. So I'm like, oh, okay, like this is the story, but like, how do I market that? So like, he's a reformed playboy and she's a shy heroine. So I think more opposites attract.
But she works for the team, right?
She does.
Okay.
It's like PR.
He also is, doesn't do a good job the first time that they're in bed together.
That's right. I forgot about that scene.
Which I kind of wanted to write that because like I think I've only read a couple series where that has happened, and I just found it an interesting plot line, which also deals with her own uncomfortability of her own sexuality. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of other things that are happening there. But also I think that TJ needed to be knocked down a peg. Like he really did.
Yeah.
Because he's so cocky, he's so like assured. So-
He's a little
And
bit of
then
an
it's like, wait a
asshole.
second, what just happened?
He's a little bit of an asshole too. Like he comes off, but he ends up being like a really great guy in the
Yeah,
end.
like Dinah calls him a lovable douche to his face.
That's right.
Um, and like that, I think is
It's
the
true.
description.
It is kind of the perfect description for him. And then the next book is the best of the book boyfriends of this series,
That
Blaze's
one's my
book.
favorite.
I love him.
Mhm.
And that one is marriage or convenience, right? Marriage of convenience, engagement, fake engagement,
Fake dating.
fake dating.
Fake dating.
I'm getting there. I was working it out. I had to
You're
like
getting there.
listen. I'm already married to him. He can't be married to anyone else. Well, and she's the tattoo artist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's a badass. Like that's something you do in this series really well. Each heroine was dynamic in their own right, and they had their own legs to stand on. None of them were damsels in distress. None of them were these wallflowers. Even Max, who's a little shy, she wasn't really a wallflower in her own life. She had her own dynamic, that
Mhm.
she put out to the world. Was that difficult for you to make everyone so unique?
I don't know.
Oh, Danica doesn't know.
It just happened.
I
That's
think
how good you are.
I do try to like intentionally make my character. I try to. That's like one of the things as you've written this many that I do overthink when I'm starting to write. Like I'm writing more now. I'm like, I'm writing this trope and I've written this trope before, and like I'm like afraid they sound like the same this other couple. And so I think it's something that I intentionally try to think about. Like I intentionally did write Max the way I did because I wanted her to seem like a little bit different than the other heroines, because a lot of them are like loudmouths, um and she's not. So I do try to like think of different things, and that's also why sometimes my sex scenes are so varied too, because I don't want to be writing the same type of dynamic all the time. Like I do intentionally, that's why I have like a book that's really spicy, or one that like to me doesn't feel that steamy, because I'm like, oh, they're just kind of sort of vanilla, and people are like, this is really steamy. I'm like, was it?
It was. It really was.
Like the sixth book, I really didn't think it was that steamy until I was like reading the final like version of it. I was like, oh yeah, they did have sex a lot.
Well, the sixth book, they're roommates. They're both single parents, close proximity. And like the sexual tension in that book is thick. Like it is thick. But then once they start banging, there is no stopping. They bang a lot.
Yeah, I guess they did.
I think that's a theme in all your books. Like once we start, we aren't stopping banging. Like,
Yes. Because I remember saying to you, I think on Roxy's book, I'm like, she goes, you're like, I had to tell them to stop.
I
And I was like,
did. Like
why did you?
the deleted scene that I wrote for my newsletter was like a sex scene I cut out. So I was like, here you go. Have the one I cut out.
they bang a lot.
Mhm.
And then, so we had the single parents, which was really interesting because you didn't have any other single parents in this book, or this series. It was just these two.
Yeah.
And they both come at it very differently. And I also like how you sprinkle a little bit of your own self into these books. Like they were gamers.
Yeah.
And I loved that. But we had that a little bit too in book 2. They were gamers, right? Book 1?
Dinah is a gamer.
Dinah is a
But
gamer.
there wasn't like a lot.
No.
And then in that book they go to a Halloween party, and like I can't even remember my character's name. Lily. This is the problem when you do their names too similar. You're like, shut up. It's like, Lily recognizes what they're dressed as, and
Yeah.
like it took Logan a little bit. He's like, what? And like it's Tomb Raider and the character from the Uncharted games, which are both like archaeology type games, I guess you could say. So I thought that was like a funny thing for like a couple costume to do. And then they have like a conversation about video games that they're playing. So yeah, I have like sprinkled that. And I just think it's like it's something different that you don't see in a book, so I wanted to write it.
It is different. And I like that, though. I like that because I have to imagine that a lot of these guys, like their Xboxes are how they spend a lot of their downtime.
I think a lot of them just play NHL though. So like a lot of them just play
Like an
chill.
ego trip, I'm going to play the game that I'm in.
I don't know. Like
I hope not. I hope
I
they're
think
playing
they do
like
too.
Diablo
Yeah.
or something.
I think a lot of hockey players have nerdy hobbies. You know what I mean?
So the Flyers a couple years ago, like for like one of their charities, they had like our favorite things box, and one of
Mhm.
them picked Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's very interesting.
I own that
So
game.
the-
It's still wrapped in plastic. We've never learned to
Oh.
play it.
My family plays that all the time. I don't have the patience for it. The Wild actually like do that on their social media. They interview like, what's your favorite meal? And like their nerd flags are flying. I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah, I was like, that's really interesting. That's
Mhm.
not why I did it. I just thought it was like fun to write something like that.
It's so fun.
Mhm.
I love it. But I think that's something that I've really come to love about this Bulldog series is everybody has really interesting personalities and hobbies, and they're all a little different. And I like the uniqueness that you give the characters in this series.
Mhm.
You know, we had gamers, we have romance readers, we have romance writers, and like Maddie, her in this book, she like fangirls hard.
Mhm.
She's like, what? I love her. She's so funny.
Yeah, I really like these too.
So she is a female hockey player.
Mhm.
Are you going to write us some more female hockey players? Because listen, friend, there's stuff in this book we need.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I really
Oh.
liked the team that she was on. Like, I feel like there's a lot of stories there that you could probably share with us.
Maybe is all I'm gonna say. I don't have plans right now, but there
That
are,
doesn't sound
yes,
like a great plan.
there's a
Mm-mm.
lot of potential for a spin-off, like a Franklin U
Mhm.
spin-off,
Okay.
but it's not on the radar right now.
What
Okay.
is on the radar?
Yeah.
The Murphy brothers.
Well, okay, wait. And you've been teasing some secret project for the last month.
Okay. I will tell you later what it is, but for logistical reasons, I can't really say
Okay.
what it is. There's a reason why I'm not actually telling people what it is, but it is been something that became a bigger project than I thought it was going to be, and it's taken up a lot of my time.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Kelly
Kelly's
Kay is
calling you a
calling you a
tease.
tease.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys know, I usually don't like talk about secret projects. I usually will be like, I'm working on this book. Like, look at this book.
You're
I'm
always
working on,
happy to
comes
tell
out
us,
5
like,
years later.
I'll never forget when you did your small town series. You're like, I think I'm going to write an accidental pregnancy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you're not. You're like,
You're
no.
all like, what?
And like I think I literally challenged Gemma to get her shit together because I said, okay, fine, you don't want to work with me. We're doing one book and that's it. And then she's like, oh wait, let me tell you what I need to do. Because I had to start and stop that book like 5 different times. Like where her book started just never worked. So when I was like, oh, it's only one book, when I kept telling you guys, it's just one book.
Yeah, we were just going to get one book in this little brewery, small town. And I'm like, one book. And then I read that one book, which was phenomenal. And I want to say it's my favorite, but book 3 I adore that couple so much. I adore them. And there was a little bit of some anger and things they had to get over to be together. But I read that first book and I'm like, what do you mean there's only one book? This
I
doesn't
was a
work.
total liar, and you knew I was lying because I had originally said there was gonna be more, and I was like, I think it's just gonna be one. Like I'm just like not. I just couldn't. Every time I started Gemma's book, it just didn't feel right, and I'm like, this is not how the book needs to start, and I just couldn't. I think part of it was trying to figure out what that's because the first book I branded it as a Christmas book.
Right.
But when I first wrote it, I didn't really think of that. But then when I was reading it back and like considering what I wanted to do, I'm like, this has a lot of Christmas in it. Let's like try to get it out for the season and do that. And then I was like, oh shit, what do I do about these other books? Like, so I was like trying to be like, maybe it will be like, it'll be in the middle of her book, or maybe it'll be like New Year's Eve type of thing. And then it was just not working. And then I was like, oh, I needed to start it where I originally was going to do, and it was going to be in the summer. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, it's a summer book. Like,
And her
so
hero is Felix, right?
yeah.
They were so dynamic together on the page. They're one of those couples that when they're on the page, they consume the page. And it's not like even just chemistry or sexual tension, like just their aura and who they are as characters. They consume that story. And it was perfect that it was a vacation fling, that it was outside of the small town,
Yeah.
kind of a little bit on their own, because there was no space in that book for anybody else. Just
I
them.
love that book so much. And every time people are like, what book should I read? I'm like, this one. But I also, because it was the first time I wrote a buy for buy book.
Mhm.
So I think I have a lot of love in my heart for them to be able to find, like, because I've written bisexual characters before. Roxanne's bisexual and Blaze is bisexual, but that was the first one where they both were. And I like reading those a lot. And I'm writing another one because I just love writing it. So it's like fun to write. So I really just like I just love them, and like it's enemies to lovers, but it's really like engineered. Like Felix engineered it because of his own stuff that's going on, and he really just like pushes her buttons.
Yeah, he does. And then the
Yeah.
last book in that series has like the perfect fall small town vibes. Like it makes you want to drink all the things pumpkin spice, although I don't like pumpkin spice.
Yeah, I love it. I love that book. That's like I've said before, I feel like I'm never going to be able to write a book like that again because everything about writing that book was easy. Like I felt like I did not struggle with that book. Like everything flowed. So like when I have books now that I'm like wanting to tear my hair out, I'm like, why can't you be like like Declan and Lila?
So was Maddie and Matt, were they difficult for you?
Um,
Because their relationship is so easy in that book. And the
so
pacing
much.
and the
No,
flow just
I wrote them kind of like around the same time. I
okay.
wrote them, and I think that's probably why they have similar dynamics because I wrote them one after the other.
Okay.
So that's probably why. So they kind of inspired each other. Um, but like I don't know, just writing I think I wrote Declan's book like during the summer. I don't know. Like everything just came together with that book. Like it just felt easy for me. Although I wrote it out of order, but like it felt easy for me.
Yeah.
Even though I had to then piecemeal it back together, but it all worked. It worked. Yeah, I didn't think I struggled too much, like just the normal amount, but I've had a book where I wrote 20,000 words and I'm like, I need to set this down. Like this is not what I want to write right now. Like I just can't I can't deal with that. And I think that's partially when you've written enough, it's like the overthinking takes over because you're like,
Well,
oh,
I think you had to put Logan to bed a couple times.
I don't think I did.
No?
No.
I don't know why I felt like Logan had to go be put in a corner
I
a
don't
couple
know.
of times.
Put in the corner. So the McGregor Brothers Brewing Company, it's a 3 books, and it comes in a complete series in a box set.
Yeah, I have the box set as well.
Yep. So, and it's on Kobo. Let now people know that it's
Oh
the
yeah,
box
yeah.
set
All
you
my
can get
books
it.
are on Kobo Plus too.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, but so Declan's heroine. She has 4 brothers, 5 brothers? 3 brothers.
Dinah has
No.
the brothers.
No, her in-law. So her brother-in-law. Okay, Murphy
Wait,
brothers.
Murphy brothers. It was their
Murphy
sister,
brothers.
right? No.
No.
Holy
Her sister
shit.
is married to Brian Murphy.
Okay.
Everyone else is like related to everyone. Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with this.
So like, it's funny because I think there's a line somewhere where like in the hockey series where it's like 6 degrees of who fucked who, but it's also like that in most of the series. I think Benny says it. Like I feel like Benny says it for some reason.
Probably. Benny or TJ.
Or they said it together and they were like, gotcha.
So McGregor brothers, there's only 2 brothers.
Jenny's making fun of me. She says I need a family tree. This is not a lie.
Honestly, I'm like, shit, do I need to do that now?
Maybe.
So Lila Sullivan, sister, is married to Brian Murphy.
Okay, but the Sullivans own the bar.
Yes.
Okay.
So Lila owns the bar.
Okay.
Brian works there.
Because like I'm telling her how her own family works their own stuff.
Brian like works at the bar. He's like a manager. He's worked there forever.
Right.
He has 4 brothers.
4 brothers. Okay.
So his brother Killian is a bartender. You've met him in Temporary in Love. He has a younger brother who's a photographer. He has a brother who is in a Celtic band. I don't know if did I put that in that book? I don't remember.
Yes, we had the band, the photographer, and the bar brother, but the other one
There's another brother too.
Yeah, the other one
I don't think he's really mentioned. Maybe he's mentioned like once, but
just
yeah,
as a number.
I think there's like, oh, there's another brother type of. I think there's like a line like that. Like there's another one. So there's 5 Murphys, but I'm really planning only to do the 4 younger brothers. So the first one will be about Killian Murphy.
Who's the photographer?
Bartender.
Wait, but he's
I'm
married.
writing the photographer right now. I'm like, so that's probably why you're confused.
Wait, the bartender, the bar manager is married, right?
Yes.
So there's the manager
So
and a bartender?
Married. The oldest brother's married.
Okay, he's not getting a book.
But he'll be in the books because he's like the voice.
I'm gonna need fucking flashcards.
I think we do need a family tree, and it can't be Becky that does it. I'm just gonna go out on a limb.
I would change all their names.
Yeah, Amanda, SOS.
And they're
SOS.
They're all like Irish names too. Like it's Brian Murphy, Killian Murphy, Lachlan Murphy, Ronan Murphy.
Cheese and rice.
Finnegan
so
Murphy.
Great.
Cheese and rice.
Perfect.
I'm not in charge of this.
So
No,
first will
you
be
are
about
not.
Killian. He's a bartender. He pours drinks, Becky.
Okay.
That's what he does.
I like him. Killian pours drings. Why did I think the photographer's book had to come first? Why did I feel like the photographer's book was
because I'm writing it now and I've put like aesthetic stuff and I've talked about working on it. So that's why. Originally I wanted him to be last, but then I wrote the first book and realized that he needed to be second.
Also, I would like to note, Heather, that she let me beta read the hockey books. I've not been allowed to beta read these books.
It's not that you've been allowed. It's just like
not allowed.
I had like stricter deadlines and I basically just gave them to my critique partners.
It's fine. I'm just teasing you.
Amanda's on it, she said, Danica. So I love Becky, seriously, but do not email her. I'll send you Amanda's email address. You're welcome.
I also feel like I'm gonna have to like do a pronunciation guide because the one character, his name is the character in the first book, the heroine, her name is Siobhan, which I don't think is that weird, but you know how Siobhan is spelled.
Yeah.
So, and then one of the other characters who will be like the heroine in book 3, her name is Eilish, but it's spelled like Billie Eilish. And I'm like, people better not mispronounce it.
They're going to.
Yeah, they're going to. And like, I need to figure out, like, I do have like a place where they talk about like names in the first book. The first book is an accidental pregnancy. So like I did have it.
What?
Yeah.
That is so on you.
What?
Especially that I was just complaining about like accidental pregnancies the other day on TikTok.
You have, since I have known you, they have
Accidentally in love. Accidentally in love is an accidental pregnancy. And I remember one of our first conversations, you're like, that just doesn't happen. And I'm like, okay. Okay.
I got plenty of friends.
That's my biggest fear.
Well, that's true. It is your biggest fear. Same
girl.
Yeah, so the first book is an accidental pregnancy. I know like all the tropes. Like I already like before I even write, I know like I usually sometimes I might not, and I'll like put like I literally know nothing about him, and then as soon as I write that down, the character tells me. I'm like, okay. But yeah, like there was like I wrote a scene where they talked about like how to pronounce her name, but it's very deep in the book. So I'm like, oh, like where do I fit? Like I definitely need a pronunciation guide, but like maybe I need to fit this somewhere else.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
These are going to be names I'm going to be like, okay, Danica, send me. Well, Siobhan, I'm going to get. Like, I can get that
one's
one.
pretty. I think that one's pretty. I think Ailish is going to be the one that will be a little complicated.
I'll just call her the A girl.
Had to be like, am I even pronouncing it right? Because I worked with someone and that's how she pronounced her name and that's how she spelled it. So like that's what I'm going off of. But there's a lot of contention on how it really is pronounced. So I'm like, you know what, whatever.
This is when
I think names are regional for Ireland.
Well, yeah, and like my husband's family is super Irish, but their names are like Ursula, Sheila, Michael's, Patrick's, Timothy's. Like we went with all the easy names in that family. There's a couple Johns.
We have all the easy Michael, Patrick, Timothy, Molly, Margaret, Liam, Owen.
We do have some Marys and some Elizabeths and some Catherines, just to make sure that everybody got covered.
We have Marys and Marines and Magdalens.
Do you think naming characters is hard, Danica?
No. For me, it's not, because they usually tell me. But like, so when I'll have an author friend being like, I need a name for this character, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I feel like sometimes I will look them up, but I feel like I usually kind of know like what they're gonna be.
They just tell you.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Because naming my children was very hard. So this is probably a reason I can't be a writer, other than, names are hard. We had to have a whole test when we named our children. Could you make fun of it? And how could it be made fun of? And like, because I
think that's a good test.
I wanted to name the boy child Harrison, because that was my dad, grandfather, and brother's middle name. And I wanted to name him Harrison. But, we probably would have called him Harry, right? And our last name is Burrier. And Mike was convinced the nickname would be Furrier Burrier. And he's like, we're a hairy people. And I'm like, okay. Ended up being his middle name. Poor kid.
We had a hard time too. But we're both teachers. And so,
Yeah. We didn't have that issue. They just couldn't be made fun of too terribly. So, I mean, it's fine.
Jenny, I named 4 humans. I'm done.
She's done. Jenny will not be writing. Although Jenny the other day did say she'd like to offer her services as a research assistant to authors. Like if you have a topic that needs researched, she would like to help you research it. Like that's the kind of librarian she wants to be.
Or if you're looking for some sort of conspiracy theory and you are curious, Jenny is your girl. She just could.
If you ever decide to write a weather person, a storm chaser romance, Jenny and Lindsay are your go-to people for information. You have no idea the text messages that we get, like, this storm is coming your way. And I'm just like,
oh my God, my mother does that. And I'm like, what are you going to do?
But if the character has to live in the Midwest and then they have to stand out on their front porch and like watch the weather.
It's the Midwest dad pose. You go to the basement while I stand here and watch the tornado pass by.
In the front yard.
In the front yard. Did you get a lot of rain where you are, Danica?
Yeah, and I was kind of worried because like I worked at the office yesterday and my partner called me at like 5 o'clock and like I don't leave until like 5:30 and he's like, hey, so we don't have power and I'm like, great.
Yay.
And there's a tree down in the alley. So like I have like a pad in my backyard where I can park my car and there's like a tree in the alley. So I'm like, okay.
Guess we're not parking there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Maddie and Matt because risky play is what we're here as we have done all these other things now. Stay on task. So Maddie is so this is new adult really because he's 22
Yeah.
and she's
Mhm.
20,
She's 21.
21.
Keep drinking, so.
Still a college student.
Mhm.
Was because years ago I know you told me that originally you thought you would write YA. So was it
Mhm.
kind of fun to write new adults, younger?
Yeah, I mean, and it like just kind of makes sense for the context of the genre too, to write a little bit younger. Just given how young hockey players usually are.
Yeah,
So, and it was like I knew I wanted it to be about Noah's sister, so I had to kind of do the math. And that's also why she's still in college.
that's why she's still in college.
Yeah.
Was it so? Do you feel like writing younger characters, you have a little bit more freedoms with some of their behaviors because they're not as established into routines, careers, world? I mean, he was, but Maddie was still kind of like, you know, young and dumb a little
Yeah,
bit.
I guess, but I have thoughts about when people are like, this character was immature. I'm like, people can be immature however old they are.
Mhm.
Sure.
So like, um, but one of my other betas said that Maddie was mature yet immature that made sense for her age. So I was like, oh, okay. So I did a good job there.
See, and I
So
didn't find her to be incredibly immature. She definitely was single minded.
the way she handles the situation,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, I just don't understand. Like,
Well, and he,
I like he grew his big boy pants and like was like, nope. I mean, I was proud of him for that, like standing up to her and saying, I'm not doing this anymore.
yeah,
Period. We're not hiding.
yeah.
yeah,
Well, he tried really hard to be the good guy.
he did.
Mm-hmm.
He tried so hard, and she was just like not having it. She wanted to do
Yeah.
her own thing.
I think it's just like Noah never likes any guy she's interested in. So I think it's a lot. She wanted to keep it to herself too.
But I think that's really valid too in just relationships. And I think that's part of the reason that sometimes I don't mind when an older brother overreacts. Sometimes I mind it. And I felt like Noah's was appropriate in
Mhm.
this book. Um, but oftentimes, when you put your relationship out there, that opens yourself up for criticism, right? Like, and who's
Mhm.
going to criticize you more? Well, your family.
Yeah.
My eldest brother at the night of my wedding bet against my husband and I. Like, we weren't going to make it a year. Michael would ditch me in a year. 25 years later, people.
Well, he lost that bet.
Well, and dude's been divorced 10 years from his wife. So, um, I still, like, every once in a while, I text my sister's best friend because she's the one who heard the bet. And I'm always like, so you think I'm going to get my money this year? Every year on our wedding anniversary. But
How much did he bet?
I think it was $100. I mean, 25 years later, shouldn't I get like $2,500?
Yeah.
Shouldn't I get $100 for every year we stay together?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Burrier's a lot of work.
I think Becky Burger might be. You're welcome, Mike.
No, I'm easy peasy, people. Although somebody
Mhm.
told me the other day I am a passenger princess. Do we even know what that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I don't like to drive. I like to let Mike
I
drive
am.
me everywhere. Are you a passenger
Yeah.
princess?
Yes. Yes.
I was
I
like,
am.
I kind of like it.
I hate driving. I have extreme anxiety over it. Like it's really bad.
I don't have anxiety. I just have attention issues, and I like to. Oh, Amanda says I told her that. No, but somebody told me, and which is why I told you guys that I was a passenger princess. Um, because we're getting ready to go to signings and stuff, and I'm like, no, Michael drive us to Columbus, and they're like, well, what is he going to do in Columbus while you guys are at the signing? And I'm like, I don't know, walk. I don't know. He just has to drive us. I don't know. That's what he does. Okay.
Speaking of driving, I was so perplexed by Matt not having a car. So maybe explain that to me.
Have you been to Philadelphia?
No, but I like Minneapolis, right? Isn't it similar?
No, Philadelphia, like, it's crazy in the streets. Like, when you go to, if you don't have a parking is expensive, but like, people put lawn chairs out, like, to save their parking spots.
When it snows,
Yeah.
you shovel the snow and you put lawn chairs out so someone doesn't take your spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also just like him being a rookie and not really having a place like of his own, I thought it made sense. A lot of people will just take SEPTA, so
Take what?
it's our transit system.
Their regional transit system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, and I also think that that was interesting too. That's something you address across really the last two books, not so much Blaze's book, because he was more established already in the league, but the last two players kind of newer to the league, so they didn't have the big giant contracts.
Yeah.
And we're still fighting for that permanent place, those large contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it made sense that he didn't have a car. Because that's something that always bugs me, like when we get like a New York City romance.
Mm.
Many people don't actually own cars that live in Manhattan.
Yeah.
It's the people that live in the boroughs might have cars.
Like, honestly, a lot of the Rangers do take the subway.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah. That's what Stacy has told me.
That's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do. And I know Toronto. Oh my God, what is the player? He's so funny. Everyone takes pictures of him out on and they don't talk to him because that's like bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it made sense because he was younger and like he didn't really have his own place and
He's renting the basement bedroom.
Yeah.
I love
I had to like look up building codes for like where he lived, like to make sure it was like legal and stuff.
What?
Yeah, when I was writing it, I was like looking up building codes and stuff of like, could he like actually live in the basement suite? Like, and then this is what you have to do when you're an author. You have to spend like 2 hours researching something that's not even gonna make it in the book. But you have to know it so that you can write it a lot of times. So yeah.
In Philadelphia, people's like basements aren't finished. Like
it was a finished basement, but like, you need to have like the safety window and everything like that. So I was like looking up building codes about like how to do that. I don't have a finished basement, but like, yeah, most people do.
Oh,
it is so not unheard of for rookie players to live with like more established players.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's pretty
Connor
common.
Bedard was living with Felino or something.
That's so intriguing to me.
Cal McCarr used to live in like just a random people's like house. And he would live in a basement like apartment type situation. And they had young kids, so they would lock the door at night so the kids didn't go down there. And one morning they forgot to like unlock it, so he couldn't get out and he crawled out the window because he was so like he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. And then he like knocked on the door and they were like, what's going on? And he's like, can I come upstairs?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It was like his like first season, I think. Like,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
But like, because some of these kids, so I think about like Connor Bedard, he's 18 years old. And yes, he's lived on his own, but they live with billet families. And so
yeah,
he's 18 and he's living on his own. He has all this money and he's like all this stuff. And when he broke his jaw, a teammate and the teammate's wife came and like slept in the floor of his room because they were so like he needed someone to take care of him.
Yeah, a lot of times like captains will do it. Like the captain will take the rookie in. Sometimes it's the coach, because I think Sidney Crosby used to live with Mario Lemieux too. So
He did.
which is like so funny.
That's so funny. You think about that, like those first seasons, which is, again, why it made sense that he didn't have a car and that he lived
Yeah.
the way he did and as young as he was. And it was just like in the previous book with Logan, like it made sense that he needed a roommate, because
Yeah.
affording a full-time nanny for the baby would be crazy expensive and his contract wasn't that big. Right? I got the name right, didn't I?
They weren't roommates. What are you talking about?
Didn't she live with him part-time
No.
and helped with childcare?
No. Her sister was his nanny.
Oh, his sister. But she still moved in, didn't she?
No, she was just there a lot.
I
But
think
she
moved
also
in.
would like get involved in his shit. Like
She moved in. It's fine. I rewrote the book in my
okay.
head. Whatever. It's not the first time I've done it. Probably won't be the last. Danica's like, just shut up, Becky.
I think you're just mixing up some of the books. It's fine.
It's all fine. I love them all, but I love them. And I'm really still kind of angry because I don't want to say goodbye to Philadelphia because it was important to you that you write a book in Philadelphia. And now we're just going to go small town. Is this because you bought a house and you don't live in the city anymore?
I never did live in the city though, so it doesn't matter.
You're just trying to be difficult now.
It's really hard for me to write hockey romance in the current landscape right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I just want to be done, kind of. But that's not to say that I won't ever.
Is it just, are you burnt out on hockey a little bit? Or
Yeah, a little
even
bit.
just some of the things that are happening in the NHL? Like if we look
Yeah.
outside the book world, like obviously
Yeah.
we've had a saturation of hockey romances over the course of the last 18
It's
months.
that too. It's like, and I don't like why choose to begin with,
Yeah.
but when I think of it in a hockey context, it's really hard for me given the Hockey Canada scandal. So it
Oh,
makes
yeah.
me very uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I know that's like been asked of me before. I'm like, first of all, I don't write that, so I don't know why you guys are asking me that. But so that like has kind of made me a little, it's like harder for me to quantify it. But I will probably write something that's not really hockey romance, but with still kind of within the world.
So
That
hockey
will be set
adjacent.
yeah, more like hockey adjacent. Like
So,
one of the books will probably be like a true hockey romance, but the others really won't.
so maybe Luna could marry a Murphy brother?
No.
I don't know. Ty is in love with Luna.
Does it have
Yeah.
to be Ty?
I mean, it doesn't.
Does it have to be?
I was wondering if you were going to put Luna with her roommate, but then the roommate hooked up with the goalie. And so that was what I was curious about doing. The female.
Yes, I do want to write that, but I'm just not ready to write it,
It's fair.
Yeah, so that comes with a lot of pressures too.
Yeah.
And it's hard to figure out how to do that. So yeah, I mean,
Okay, fine. Whatever.
I'm not gonna say I'm never gonna write hockey romance again because
But it's time to
I
take a
couldn't-
break. But I
It's
really
just-
love your small town. Like, I really love that small town, and I'm ready to go back there, obviously. Like, I mean, those brothers I need their stories.
Well, I wrote one book so far.
One book out of 4.
Yeah, I'm planning 4. I might write like other books in the town, but just as other series because I've had that idea. But I haven't really like right now I want to focus on the Murphys. I mean, and then the Holmstroms. I don't know if I'll do them in between. But yeah. So that's where I'm at right now.
Nice.
Well, okay. I can be okay with this. So, Risky Play is out now. It's available wherever you get books. It is part of Kobo Plus. And then is it one book this year, or are we going to get the book one in the Murphys maybe later this year?
No.
No.
You won't get that until like next year sometime. I really want to release it on St. Patrick's Day because I think that would just be like fun, but I need to see if it will like work with the editing schedule. So,
Sure.
but yeah, it'll be next year. That's all you're getting from me this year.
That's all. Okay. But Risky Play is great. It's
So
great.
good.
It should everybody should pick it up. It's really well done. And I just love Maddie. Like, she's super
great.
dynamic.
And Matt is such a good boy, as we said.
He's a goodest
We
boy.
love him. Yes.
Danica, congratulations on book 10 in your publishing
you.
career and finishing your second series. It's so exciting. We are back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with author Erin Nicholas and author Krista Sandor. So come join us for Chaos. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, right here. Anyway, because I can't do Sunday night because it's Mike's birthday, but also the eclipse is on Monday, and things are like chaotic here. Because we're in the line of totality. It's chaos.
Tell us you live with nerds without telling us you live with nerds.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Until next time, everybody, happy reading.
Bye.